don't know what this world is coming to.
Happy Monday, ladies and gents. Another sunny afternoon here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm RDot and want to welcome y'all to the first ever episode of RDot Sports Talk Grind, sponsored by Mike Hampton Art.com out of Berkeley, California, and the sportsandgiggles.com podcasting network. What's going on, you guys? I'm glad y'all came to rock with RDot because I got a lot to say, especially with the tournament is about to end. We got the final game between the Gonzaga Bulldogs and the North Carolina Tarheels. I want to just shoot right into that because I got so much to talk about. Let's talk about Gonzaga and Mark Few. Mark Few, he's been Gonzaga's head coach since 1999. A lot of run-ins in the tournament. His record there is 26-17. This is his team's first Final Four. He's been in the Elite Eight twice. 37-1 Bulldogs this year, led by the West Coast Conference Player of the Year, Nigel Williams-Goss, a junior guard straight from Washington University, transferred there last year, and, you know, putting up solid numbers, 17 points per game, 4 assists, 46% from the field in the tournament so far. He's been a big part of their success, along with Karnowski, the 7'1" center from Poland. You also have Jordan Matthews, a senior guard, number 13, 6'3", sophomore guard, Josh Perkins. And then it leads me to their last forward, Jonathan Williams, a forward, 6'9", transfer out of Missouri last year, or 2 years ago, sorry. He played good games this year versus Florida early in the year. He scored 16 points. He played really well against Xavier with 19 points in the tournament. He's averaging about 10 points and 6 rebounds. The team really, really dominates when he has good games. So look for him to make a push to have a good game. If the Zags want to win, he should be high in the score column. Also, the Zags bring in Zach Collins, the 6'10" freshman out of Las Vegas, who's been actually killing it. Pay attention to number 32 when he comes in the game. He's only averaging about 18 minutes of play in the tournament, but he's averaging about 9 points and 7 rebounds and 3 blocks in about 19 minutes. He's a 7-footer coming off the bench. He's long and lanky, along with Killian Tilly, who's also a 6'10" freshman coming off their bench, number 33. Pay attention to him. And a junior, Silas Melson. He's also coming off their bench. He's a junior guard / forward. So, you know, the Zags has some size tonight with a couple of guys eclipsing the 6'9" mark and actually one guy about 6'9". So, you know, don't look for Carolina really to dominate on the boards just because the Zags has that size. Now, let's talk about how the Zags got here. They beat South Dakota State, Northwestern, West Virginia. They really throttled Xavier. That, if you remember, that score was 83-59. Surprised a lot of people. And then they also just beat South Carolina for the Final Four game, 77-73, in which they advanced to play North Carolina, who we're going to talk about right now. You know, everybody knows North Carolina, 32-7. Won the ACC this year, has the ACC Player of the Year, Justin Jackson, who's averaging about 41% on three-pointers this year and 41% on threes in the tournament. He's taken about 36 three-pointers in the tournament and made 15 of her, averaging just under 19 points in the tournament, 18 points for the season, so about the same. They're also led by an upper class here with senior forward Kennedy Meeks. He's 6'10", averaging 13 points, 12 rebounds in the tournament, just having an outstanding year all around. Also, you have senior Isaiah Hicks, who's at 6'9", junior forward Theo Pinson at 6'6", junior guard Joel Berry II at 6 foot, And like I said before, Justin Jackson round out the starting lineup. Now, Carolina, they play usually about 5 deep, but the players that have been consistently coming off their bench have been forward and freshman 6'10", Tony Bradley, who I'm telling you is probably going to be a lottery pick or at least go in the first round this year's draft. Also, you have 7th Woods, number 21. He's a guard, and also senior guard Nate Britt. And then the guy that you probably need to look out for that comes off their bench that's going to probably have the biggest impact in the game is sophomore forward/guard Luke May. He's about 6'7". He's had big games against Kentucky and also Butler in the tournament with 17 points against Kentucky and 16 points and 12 rebounds versus Butler. And North Carolina just throttled Butler. That was their best game that I seen them play this tournament from beginning to end. Butler, they played hard for the full 40 minutes, and they throttled Butler, and it showed. It was 92-80 that game. Butler had no chance. Now, Carolina's beat Texas Southern, and they had a kind of a tough game against Arkansas, a really close game that could have went either way against Kentucky. That was a nail-biter. It was 75-73 versus Kentucky, if you remember. And then the last game, which ended up being a nail-biter, but it felt like Carolina was up 10 points the whole game, no matter what the score tells. They just beat Oregon to advance to the championship game, if you remember, 77-76. Roy Williams, he's already won 2 titles at Carolina, one in the 04-05 season, one in the 08-09 season. He's over 800 wins, 79% winning percentage. We all know Roy Williams got the numbers. But can Roy Williams push this team over the edge and not look over this Gonzaga team? Now, if you look at it on paper, these teams match up pretty well. But the eye test tells me that Carolina's got a little bit of an athletic advantage over the Zags. So we'll see what Mark Few does to counter this. He might do it his own, or he might do a box to kind of slow down Justin Jackson. Who knows what he'll do. But the main thing is Carolina goes as Justin Jackson goes. And I think that's the key ingredient, the key element, or the key whatever into stopping Carolina. Oregon, I thought did too many switches, and not just beating through the screens. They kind of played a matchup zone, and it kind of messed them up towards the end of the game because I saw a lot of confusion on defense, and they were losing where Justin Jackson was at. And he was able to get free on numerous occasions, either for a good shot for himself or even a tough shot for himself. But no matter what, you can't give a good player who's on the hot streak good looks because all hell will break loose. Speaking of Justin Jackson, I had a chance to look at some of the mock drafts for the NBA coming up because I was looking at the tournament and noticed that there's some hella good ball players in this year's draft. If you have multiple picks or if you have any type of lottery pick this draft, this is the one to have it because the players that we are seeing in this tournament are thriving. Speaking of this tournament, let's talk about the first pick of the mock drafts that's been going around. Numerous people have the top 3 pretty much set as the same, just in different order. You have this kid, Markelle Fultz, out of Washington University from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. He's 6'4" point guard, averaging about 23 points per game on 47% shooting. Solid numbers throughout the year, double digits most of the games throughout the year. However, his team did not play well. A lot of turmoil up there. They fired Romar. He's been there for a while, so they're turning over a new leaf. So just a bad spot with the Washington Huskies all around. But Boston looks to have the first round pick. Thank you, Brooklyn, for tanking, says Danny Ainge. And looks like they're going to take Markelle Fultz in most mock drafts. Other than that, you got 2 and 3 as Josh Jackson from Kansas and Lonzo Ball from UCLA. I have no problems with either one of those two picks going in the top 3 or anywhere. Josh Jackson, 6'8" swingman out of Detroit, Michigan, led the Jayhawks down to the Elite 8, played very well all year, has a nice handle, can hit an open 3. Fundamentals are pretty good. Just probably has to work on shot selection and strength, and maybe learning some defensive techniques from the NBA. Lonzo Ball, you heard enough about him through his dad, LeVar, so I don't even want to mention him too much. But Lonzo Ball from UCLA should go top 3, maybe to the Lakers, maybe to Boston. You never know. But this is a kid who has kind of like an unorthodox three-point shot, but hell, it goes in. So you can't really change it, and he probably shouldn't change his shot since it's working. I want to point something else out to you guys about the draft that I noticed in the first round. I noticed that the Sacramento Kings had 2 first-round lottery picks, depending on if the New Orleans Pelicans don't draw a number or a top 3 pick is what it says. So if the Pelicans don't receive a top 3 pick, it goes to the Sacramento Kings. Now the Kings could actually flip those 2 picks because one would be like the 7th pick and the other pick would be a 9th pick. But since this draft is so guard heavy, a lot of good guards in this draft, a lot of good swingmen, 6'6", 6'8", 6'9" guys, 6'4" guys, a lot of those type of guys in this draft. They can flip it to a guy I really like, Jonathan Isaac, a small forward from out of Florida State, who I think could be better than Jonathan Ingram from who the Lakers drafted last year. Now, we got Jonathan Isaac. He's a 6'10" freshman, 12 points per game, 50% from the field, 80% free throw shooter, and about 35% three-point shooting percentage. This kid has a nice handle. He can pretty much do it all. I really like him. And then you can pair him up with a guy they can get a little early or a little later in the first round, the top lottery. You got De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky, who might fall into the Kings' laps, or you might even get Malik Monk from Kentucky. Either one of those guys got a NBA game. They're ready to go. So I like this draft for the Kings. You also got other players like Deontay Adams from Iowa State that I really like. Kind of reminds me of a young Larry Johnson. You got Frank Mason III, who I'm really interested in seeing where he lands. You got a heady point guard like that. There's a lot of teams that can use a defensive-minded, strong, smart point guard. But I don't think he's a first-rounder. But you never know. We'll see how he does. We just got some breaking news here from out of Georgetown University. Looks like they hired Patrick Ewing as their new head coach. That's great. That's a good move, too, because he went to Georgetown. He played for the Hoyas in 81 through 85 under John Thompson, which is the father of John Thompson III, who they just fired recently. But he took Georgetown, Patrick Ewing took Georgetown to 3 title appearances in the early 80s, finally winning one in 84. He's been an assistant in the NBA for about 15 years, mostly with Charlotte Hornets. Looks like Georgetown was also considering Mike Bray, and they also reached out to Shaka Smart of Texas, Mike Bray of Notre Dame, but both are going to stay put at their respective universities. So, you know what? That's a good move for Georgetown. It's always nice to see players that have paid their dues in the coaching ranks, and then their alumni gives them a shot at, making a difference and possibly being a hero of the school that they went to and possibly was a hero as a player. Now they can be a hero as a coach and save the day again. So shout out to Patrick Ewing in the Georgetown Hoyas. Seems like a match made in heaven, and I hope all good things happen to Georgetown because I was a fan of Georgetown back in high school. We won't date it, but I was a fan of Allen Iverson a lot in high school. He was the man on Saturday morning. Used to come in, score about 25 a game, have his J's on, John Thompson yanking him on the shirt, on the jersey because he out of control. I just remember those days. Those are good days of Georgetown. I want to see them back. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to RDot Sports Talk Grind, sponsored by Fred Lamar Apparel and the sportsandgiggles.com podcasting network. We're back. Remember how I told you it was sunny in Las Vegas this afternoon? Well, the weather has changed drastically. It is gray and cloudy, and it looks like rain is going to happen. So you guys better get ready for this little dust storm that we about to have. You know how it is in Vegas. So I wanted to shout out a few people real quick. First off, I wanted to shout out PowerUp Gaming, who's throwing a huge NBA 2K17 tournament this Memorial weekend, May the 27th through the 28th. That's 9890 South Maryland Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada. If you need any information, you can go to powerupgaminglv.com, or you can also go to sportsandgiggles.com and sign up for the NBA 2K17 tournament, aka the Sin City Challenge Volume 1. Be on the lookout for that, y'all. And we're going to talk NBA playoffs before we get out of here. We got about 5 games left. We got the Heat and the Pacers in the battle for the 8th spot. Indiana got 5 games left. They're at Toronto tomorrow. Then they at home against Milwaukee. Then they at Orlando, at Philly, and close up at home against Atlanta. Then you got the Heat, who is currently sitting in the 8th spot and own the tiebreaker between the Heat and the Pacers. They're at Charlotte on Wednesday, at Toronto, at Washington, Cleveland, and then they close up with Washington again at home. It's going to be an uphill battle for the Heat to keep that spot. The good thing is they hold the tiebreaker, but they got a tough little challenge here. I could see Indiana playing a couple of teams on their schedule down the stretch here that might tank some games. No reason for them to win. No reason for Orlando and Philly to win. And if things, sew up quickly, it might not be any reason for Milwaukee or Toronto to win any games. So it looks like Indiana could take over the 8th spot if the Heat aren't very, very careful out in the East. Out West, there's a few teams still alive for the 8th spot. I think the Pelicans and maybe the Nuggets. But I don't believe either one of those two teams are going to catch Portland, who's currently in the 8th spot. They're at 38-38, I believe, and they should probably stay in the 8th spot to round out the playoffs in the West. Can't wait for the matchup between the number 3 seed and the number 6 seed out West. That's Houston Rockets versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's going to be a great series. You're going to have MVP versus MVP, basically. James Harden versus the dynamic Russell Westbrook, the triple-double machine all year long, who's been battling James Harden for the MVP race. It's been those two, a little mixture of Kawhi Leonard in there, but it's been mainly James and Russ. I think personally Russ deserves it. He's been doing a lot with less. James been playing in a perfect dream world, but I'm not going to punish him for that. It should be a close race, and whoever wins out of those two, the only people that got to feel bad about it is Oklahoma City Thunder fans, because they had a chance to have a wonderful thing, and I will keep saying that until the day I die. OKC, y'all could have had something special. But anyways, RDot is out of here. Thank y'all for joining RDot Sports Talk Grind, sponsored by MikeHamptonArt.com, Fred Lamar Apparel, and sportsandgiggles.com podcasting network. I'm looking at the spread here. We got North Carolina -1 versus Gonzaga tonight at 6:20 p.m. I'm going to have to go out and say North Carolina wins this game. They're back from last year, pretty much the same team minus a few seniors. They got the same coach, same offense. Everything's the same. They should be ready. They should be poised. North Carolina and Roy Williams will get his third NCAA title. It won't be easy, though. The Zags will put up a fight. I believe the Zags will be winning in the first half, and North Carolina will come storming back like the rest of the championship teams this year. There you have it. RDot Sports Grind Talk. Holla at your boy later. Peace.
Face for your face, London. Everybody in the house make some noise.